We're pledged delegates for Bernie Sanders, and so we come down to give support to his ideals and his platform and making sure that those progressive movements continue on, even though the nomination goes to Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Now, Bernie Sanders, maybe the only politician I ever heard refer to the plight of the Native Americans in America. And how do you think that happened?
Well, I think that really happens because what he believes in, his ideals, are parallel to the Native American views. Yeah, the environment, communal society, we all take care of each other. Those things really run congruent on how we feel, and so as he started emerging as one of the leaders out there, we naturally, really resonated with his message, and so that really carried that movement that was silent for so long. Not saying he started it; it's always been there. He just really grew some legs for us.
Are there any policies that you hope Hillary Clinton adopts of Bernie's that will help the Native American community?
Definitely the outreach and engagement. There's 567 federally recognized tribes in this country, and the interaction between the federal government and the Native American tribes is a mutual relationship, which means both have to be at the table. And so have a government-to-government relationship. It's a little bit different than with reaching out to ethnic or racial groups. We're actually political groups, so that interaction is there's a federal trust responsibility between the federal government and the tribes that's born out of treaty. So President Obama has been great on the interaction, the consultation, ensuring that we have a seat at the table. And I believe Secretary Clinton, after November, once she's elected, will do that as well, and make sure that tribes' voices are there at the table when our issues are discussed.
What are some of your top two issues?
One of our biggest ones is restoring our tribal homelands. It goes without saying that at one point this whole country was Native America. But over a series of federal policies over a couple hundred years, our homelands have been diminished to the point where, when we're trying to have jurisdiction over our areas, this administration has, taken over 420,000 or so acres of land back in the trust for tribes. So one of ours would be, restoring our tribal homelands. A second one would be the jurisdictional issues that come along with lands. The tribes predate the states, so we have our own jurisdictional issues. We have, tribal laws and codes that are equivalent to a state statute. So we regulate activities, and due to some of the Supreme Court case, a little bit too complicated to get into, but there's sometimes that we lack jurisdiction to protect our citizens from non-Native American perpetrators, things like the Violence Against Women Act.
We want to send a message out there that the movement is still there, the revolution is still alive, and it's now incumbent on ourselves to continue that movement and move those progressive values and platform to a higher level by taking that initiative on, as Barry Sanders tells us to, making sure we get on the school boards, get on local elections. Those are the types of things that we make sure that we're getting on, and we move our values through actions.
So you're a Hillary supporter?
Yes, sir.
So has there been any kind of friction, or how have you guys been getting along with the Sanders supporters?
I get along just fine with the Sanders supporters. These guys are my brothers. Really, all the Native Americans who are engaged in this election, we all want the exact same thing. Amongst ourselves, when it comes to Native issues, there's almost no divergence between the Sanders supporters and the Hillary supporters. We have different ideas maybe about tactics and political strategy, but we want the exact same outcomes.
Every time I saw Bernie Sanders give a speech, he mentioned Native Americans prominently. Stuck out because no one else mentions it. Why do you think Hillary doesn't mention Native Americans?
I think Hillary mentions Native Americans. She's met with tribal leaders on her campaign privately and publicly. President Obama famously included Native Americans in his stump speeches in both campaigns. We heard him last night again, and I think it's important that all of our public leaders, from president on down to state elected officials, recognize the contributions that American Indian people have made to our form of government and to our communities.
And so you get no problem getting along with the Sanders people. Everybody's on the same team.
When it comes to Indian affairs, I believe that's the case. We have former Obama administration officials, high-profile Native American participants in Senator Sanders' campaign, and likewise in Secretary Clinton's campaign. Like I said, it's more a matter of tactics when it comes to Indian issues instead of policies. We're all down for the same thing.
So Debbie Wasserman Schultz was asked to leave as DNC chair because it was shown that there was she wasn't even-handed. And then she got hired by Hillary Clinton's campaign immediately. A lot of people say that's rewarding corruption, which is indicative of her campaign. Do you agree with that?
I'm not necessarily sure I agree with that. You know, I'm not really closely involved with Ms. Wasserman Schultz and her work at the DNC. I prefer to work on the grassroots level with people in tribal communities. I was disappointed to see the emails that came out. I think a lot of Democrats on Secretary Clinton's team and the Senator Sanders team were disappointed, not just that they were leaked, but the content. I think we're all one family and we want a fair fight. But at the end of the day, now we have a nominee. I think that she is capable and qualified, will support American Indian people. And I have to say that Donald Trump, his comments that he's made throughout his public career have been atrocious when it comes to Indians. And that's what I want to focus on now.
I think a lot of people are still having heartburn with the fact that we understand things were not totally above board in the primary process. And now a lot of people are thinking about the pivot that has to do with the dangerous Donald Trump on the other side of the ticket. So, as Native Americans, we've been fighting for over 500 years through a lot worse than, our candidate not getting into office. And we're not going to stop here. The revolution didn't start here, and it's not going to end here. And what we're trying to do is ensure that this has given us an adrenaline rush to continue to push farther. But, I'm going to do everything I can to ensure that Donald Trump isn't the president, even though I'm a Bernie Sanders pledged delegate here at the convention. I understand the danger that exists with Donald Trump, and I hope that the American people are smarter than that.
We see a lot of folks out in tribal communities that are big Sanders supporters. It's undeniable that he's brought a lot of enthusiasm to this campaign and passion. And Indian people, we're passionate people. When we believe something, we believe it passionately. We're excited about it. We're loud. We're laughing. So there's a lot of Sanders supporters in Indian country, but there's also a lot of fond memories for the Clinton administration. Secretary Clinton, in her time as First Lady, she visited tribal communities. President Clinton visited tribal communities. A lot of Indians remember that. And so I can't tell you what the split is or what the ratio is. There's a lot on both sides.
There is a push by the Native American community to get our own delegation here. I'm representing the state of Kansas, Brandon representing the state of Wisconsin. There is a push to get Native American our own seat in here, like Puerto Rico, like Guam, like some of the other territories. So, if we get that, we'll have really accurate numbers. And, I think it's only fitting to do that. And, on the last thing on Bernie Sanders is, we appreciate media like you. We appreciate what Senator Sanders did, because I'm not sure this interview would be happening if Senator Sanders wouldn't have brought the conversation to this level. And all around the convention, people are stopping me saying, it's awesome that Senator Sanders, it's about time somebody has spoke up. And I was on the campaign trail with Senator Sanders, and I was having conversations in states that I never would have had Senator Sanders not raised our issues to the level he did. And it's interesting because he didn't need to do it for numbers, because our population is fairly small. He did it because it's the moral thing to do. So, I couldn't be happier with tribal participation here at the DNC. And when you want to be at the table, you have to be here. And that's why all of us are here. Like Brian said, we all have the same end goal, different ways to get there. But we all want the same thing, which is respect for our tribal communities.
The Republican National Convention last week did not invite tribes to participate. They don't have a Native American.
Kidding me.
Right, it's a big
Trump
shock.
seems like he's being so.
Right, it's a big shock, but I think it's important that this election is not just about Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, right? It goes down to the local races, the positions and the officials that have an effect on people's day-to-day lives. And this party has shown an openness and a willingness to have us here, hear our voices, hear what we have to say. We have elected officials from many tribes across the country, and that's something you're not seeing with the other party.
One of the other bigger issues as well is the Supreme Court nominations and the District Court nominations as well. A lot of cases, jurisdictional cases, are settled in Supreme Court and then on the federal district side. So it's important that we have those judges that understand law.